Memphis Wrestling's all-new lineup features the biggest stars in pro wrestling, powered by Pro Shingle, a professional roofing company. Sunday, February 13th, get ready for our anniversary Super Bout, featuring Ring of Honor World Champion Jonathan Gresham going one-on-one against NWA's national treasure Nick Aldis. Plus, WWE Hall of Famer and Knockouts champion Mickie James. March 6th, two-time WWE Hall of Famer and five-time world champion Booker T is coming to Memphis Wrestling. And March 27th, Memphis Wrestling goes too cool with WWE superstar Scotty 2 Hotty. All tickets are on sale now. Get yours before it's too late at championshipwrestlingmemphis.com.
American Hostile Championship Wrestling returns to Malden, Missouri, February 12th to the Malden Community Center. That's 607 North Douglas Street in Malden, Missouri. Tickets are available ringside $10. General admission tickets are $8. Kids 5 and under are free. You get $1 off advance tickets. The show features Austin the Reaper Bolo, The Posse, Big Jack Parker Jr., Mid-America Champion Mark Southern Jr., Rude, Jason Vaughn, Derek, The King, Denzel Rollins, Big Mac, and many more. Card is subject to change. Be there February 12th, Malden, Missouri. For advance tickets, call 636-232-3313. That's 636-232-3313.
Music is my life, and I bet it's yours too. After all, we're all very complicated beasts. You're not just into wrestling, you're into other stuff too, and that's where the record store comes in. I've got 1,000 CDs or so, and I've been a rock fan for as long as I've been old enough to go to, well, the record store. So every week I close my eyes, stand in front of my collection, and randomly grab a CD. Whatever I pull out. Could be old, could be brand new. It's what I cover in that episode. It could be anything, from Asia to Yes, from John Cougar to Elton John, from Rumors to Weird Al's greatest hits. You just have no idea. I do a little bit of homework on the artist, talk about what they mean to me, and who knows, maybe I've had a chance encounter with one of them. And finally, I review the album track by track. I might confirm that it's one of the greatest albums of all time, or I might conclude that buying that album calls for me to have my head examined. Who knows? So join me, Lance Levine, twice a month right here at the record store, and let me remind you how much the music means to you as well.
Hey, just a quick reminder, subscribe for $5, $7, or $10 at www.patreon.com/Shooting the Shiznit without a G. That's right, Shooting the Shiznit without a G. This episode is also brought to you by SpunkLube.com. Remember, when you're getting funky like a monkey, if you know what I mean, use Spunky. That's right. Go to www.SpunkLube.com and tell them STS Pod sent you. We can all help prevent suicide. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline provides 24/7 free and confidential support for people in distress, and also prevention and crisis resources for you and your loved ones. Call 1-800-273-8255.
What happens when someone sends you a box of cassettes from the 1990s? You put them on as a podcast. Sit back and take a trip to the past for Cassette Wrestling News. Stone Cold Steve Austin called this the first ever podcast. These cassettes were mailed every issue to subscribers during the heyday of wrestling fanzines. Jeff Osborne and John Cena sit down and put out an episode of zany, fun, and sometimes some serious stuff. Get ready to dive 30 plus years into the past.
All right, guys, welcome to episode 1 of Cassette Wrestling News. These interviews and everything are, they're anywhere from 30 to 35 years old. And Jeff here, I've got Jeff Osborne, who put out Cassette Wrestling News. He's going to sit in at the very beginning of every episode and kind of give me what does he remember about recording that episode. So episode 1 is just going to be an interview you did with Owen Hart. How'd you get that interview with Owen? And it was a shoot interview, which is very odd back then.
Yeah, it was very rare for guys to talk about the business in general. You're right at the cusp of people are still kind of protecting the territories. The territories are on their last leg, and Vince had already bought out all the territories of the 3 or 4 or 5 years before this. And Joel Goodhart, I still stand by this. He was ECW before there was ECW, and he was running Tri-State Wrestling Alliance in Philadelphia. And for some reason, I got it was because of Cassette Wrestling News that I got connected in the industry, and I was on his radio show that weekend. And I remember pulling up at the Red Roof Inn. That's where he had everybody stay, and running into Terry Funk, Sabu, the original Sheik, and Owen Hart. And that's one of my most prized possessions, is a photo with me, Owen, and Terry Funk.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And we kind of hit it off because that was about the time that tape trading was starting to pick up, and you were getting Naoki Sano versus Jushin Liger 5-star matches and stuff like that. So, I was getting Stampede tapes and stuff like that. So we started talking about that. And I just asked, would you be willing to do an interview later? Blah, blah, blah. And he was kind of struck that it wasn't a sheet. So it wasn't a dirt sheet. It was like it was on cassette, and it was audio. So therefore, none of the sheet people could twist any kind of words whatsoever.
Right, yeah.
I don't think he was concerned with that at all. And I will say this, he was one of the first guys to just legitimately give the time of day, and was one of the nicest individuals I have ever met. And he later called me while they were in Evansville. And I will never forget that night, because it was a Halloween night. And it had to have been, I don't even know the year. It would have had to have been maybe 92, something like that.
I looked it up. It was September 21st, 1991. So, yeah, it could have been that year or the year after.
Yeah.
What you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, he actually went out of his way to call me while he was in Evansville, Indiana, with Brett, Sergeant Slaughter, and said, hey, we're hanging out over here at Mattingly's 23, which Don Mattingly, New York Yankees. He lives in Evansville, and he had a restaurant. And I go over there, and we're all hanging out and talking. And I noticed that there's this Village People looking biker guy there. And at the end of the night, I said, hey, I was talking to Owen and Brett. I said, hey, can I get a picture of you guys before we all take off? And this biker guy, which I thought was kind of this extreme gay biker looking Village People guy, stepped in and said, yeah, and put his arm around me. Right then at that moment, I'm like, oh crap, it's Halloween and this is Don Mattingly. I thought, but yeah, Owen was one of those guys who took the time of day to talk about the business and his opinions and what he thought, and was genuinely the nicest guy. I didn't get a practical joke played on me or anything like that.
Something about Owen that I knew. This was way like when I was in the business. Well, not really in the business, taking photographs and everything. There was somebody I always talked about, and she told me what Owen did. It later came out. He would pick people in different towns that he knew he was going to repeat, and that's where he stayed. Everybody said he was cheap, but the main thing is he stayed with the family. like, a husband and a wife. He would eat supper. He would have somewhere to sleep. And it was something he did that a lot of people didn't do. And that always struck me as, man, here's a guy who trusted people and liked to be around people. All right, this episode ends, and I kept these on here because I thought that was hilarious. There's 3 calls that you make. You called Medusa, Cornette, and Paul Heyman, and guess what? None of them answered. Did that surprise you?
I don't even remember that. Now I would randomly get drive-bys from Paul Heyman on my machine.
Right.
And I would remember one time Amber was mad because, oh, hey, give me a call back. I'll have your girl do my girl and we'll talk soon. Bye. And Amber was pretty straight-laced. And I'm sure we'll touch on her later, but that was how Paul Heyman was with that.
Paul was, people don't understand this. Well, Paul was one of us back in the day. Yep. He was one of the tape traders, one of the kayfabe guys. We talked to him just like we did everybody else, but you would call Paul and you hardly ever got him. And it was his answer machine, and you would leave a message, and he barely ever would call you back. But when he did, it was just like, it was the same old Paul, that you had talked to way back when. Even I talked to Paul, I guess, God, it was before I started this podcast. So we're talking about 6 years ago. I talked to him a little bit, and it was the same Paul. It was just, he's just such a big fan, and it's just funny listening to you record those calls. All right, man, that was episode 1. I appreciate Jeff stopping by. All right, let's go.
It's the first on this show.
How did you think the match got over? Did you think you fared pretty well?
Yeah, I think there was some adversity at first, I was actually moderately surprised by how much they did convert by the end of the match, Another thing that was a factor that bothered me was the rope breaking. I'm kind of known for a high-flying aerial attack, and you take the ropes away, then you're grounded, you're down in the center of the ring. And that's good, though. It shows that you can maybe go out and be diverse, and not just be a guy that has to use the ropes, but can still get by giving a good match on just in the mat.
I think you'll be back in the States doing another match like that, either on an independent card or somewhere.
Yeah, I spoke to Joel Goodhart about coming back next year. Right now it's hard to make concrete plans because right now I'm just going to be in Germany right till Christmas. So the earliest date I'd be available would be in January, and I'm hoping to get there's a shot January 4th in Tokyo Dome, I think it is, in New Japan. And I might be doing that, and I'm also supposed to be in Mexico City to do some match there for 2 weeks. I got to go there. So I'm trying to juggle these shots, and you got to weigh out what's best. 2 weeks work that's going to give you a really good guarantee, or a one-night shot that's not bad money, but it's not enough to subsidize over the whole 2 weeks. So you got to pick what's best overall, and hopefully I can. Everyone's pretty flexible, except for when they have a set date like January 4th. That you can't change that date. But Mexico, there's not any set date. I can probably work around that date. So I'm hoping to get a little bit of Mexico, a little bit of Japan, and keep some of the independents going too.
You speak a lot about Germany. How's wrestling over there? Do they sort of respect the Japan style?
The German style it's different because they have round styles. They have 4 minutes and then a 1 minute round break. And little things like, if you slam a guy or do a suplex and knock him down to the mat, if you don't cover him, then when you stand up, you got to wait. And the referee will count 1, 2. It's like boxing when you knock the guy down. You can't just keep hitting the guy. You got to wait till you got to go to a neutral corner and wait till the guy gets back up. So it's kind of a slower pace because you give some guy an awesome move and then For example, they don't want you're not allowed to get up on the top rope and do a flying elbow off the top because you've already knocked the guy down, so you got to watch some things like that. And being a good guy or a baby face out there, if you don't realize the style, they'll turn on you quick, they think, oh, this guy's cheating, he's breaking the rules, he's climbing on the top rope and all that. But it is a different style wrestling in Germany. It's in its own right got good talented wrestlers that it's in a whole different world that people don't even realize, about the Germans don't really think of the American wrestlers and say, gee, I wish we had some of these guys out here. They have their own guys that they believe are their champions, and that they're in their own kind of entity. And, they have their version of Hulk Hogan and a big Otto Bonds, who's like a 400-pound Fred Flintstone or something. But they do have some wrestlers that are, have gone to Japan and done well and stuff, and it's not a bad style. I prefer the American one, though.
What about Mexico? You talked yesterday about doing the Blue Blazer with the mask down there. Are you going to be doing that again, or? Well,
it's been about 5 trips now, I think, 5 or 6 trips to Mexico, and first 4 I did masked. I was masked as a Blue Blazer, and then on my last trip I took the mask off and started wrestling as just regular as Owen Hart. And it's funny how that mask seems to restrict you emotionally, because in Mexico, when I didn't have the mask on, I seemed to have a lot more rapport with the crowd, and I under a mask, you're just another one. Like they maybe know that you're not a Mexican, but you're just kind of another mask guy. And there's so many mask guys. There's nothing unique about it, And all of a sudden, I came out as a Canadian, and usually it's always a blonde-headed American that's always going USA. In Mexico, that gets big heat,
Yeah.
It's like doing the Russian gimmick in Canada or US. So by me going out to Mexico and just being a Canadian and total baby face, patting the kids on the head, or Arriba Mexico or whatever, they say, oh geez, he's different because he's not one of those typical American heels. He's a Canadian. He's one of us, and they're desperately trying to accept someone like that, but they've never really been given a chance, to accept an American or Canadian foreigner. And it's kind of a contrast, because much similar to like when I was in Japan, you come through there with long blonde hair, and you're coming through the crowd packed with these black Hispanics and stuff. It's like you're the one different one in the bunch, and you're so used to being booed because you're the different one, but to actually be cheered and all that, it takes a little extra work to get them on your side, and once you got them, though, they're really warm to you. And but I did notice when I took the mask off that I had better eye contact and better communication with the crowd, and all I'd have to do is just like to look with the eye, and they would say, yeah, they go crazy. But before, when you have the mask on, you can look at them and they don't even know. I guess they don't really see your eyes as clearly, and they don't respond half as much. You really got to work harder to get a reaction, But now with the mask off, you just, shake your head and your hair is waving around, and it's like they seem to get more responsive.
How is that style down there different from working in Japan?
It's not as solid, they do a lot of high spots, and it's fast paced, but it's really not, very rarely will you see, I worked with Connect and I do a few different suplexes and stuff, but there's a lot of older guys that are just kind of going through the routine, going through the motions, and they would not take too kindly if I just said, okay, I'll give you a belly-to-belly suplex, and I want to do a moonsault splash off the top rope. And these guys are pretty old, and more better you just do, just give me a slam and a drop kick or something, and it's like, I don't need to make any friction. I just make a suggestion. If they want to go on an easier route, then that's fine, because they're older, and in some ways they have some nice little routines they do, but they're, to me anyway, the crowd doesn't seem to mind it, but to me a lot of it looks too choreographed or too routine. The guys picking the guy up and helping him through the spots and little tumble rolls, and it's not really solid wrestling like the Japanese style. You can haul off and chop a guy and he's got welts on him, and really send in your blows and really have a legitimate hard fight. By the time you get back to the dressing room, you got welts and stuff all over you. Unlike Mexico, it's very, on those 6-man tags, every night it's 6-man tags. And so basically you just do one little spot, and one guy tag out, and the other 2 guys do their spot, and the other 2 do your finish, and that's the first fall, Second fall, you do another high spot with a different guy, and it's real slack, it's not hard. But for me, people say, oh, wow, that must be easy, 6-man tags. But I really do prefer just doing single matches where I can, I have at least 50% of the match where I can control it. If I'm working with a Kinnick or a Volano or whoever's on top there, then we can have equal input, But when you got 6 guys, that means 5 other guys controlling, and then you just kind of if it's a bad match, if they're all bad, then even if you want to have a good one, you just kind of throw it in, and it kind of neutralizes whatever good you might have for the match.
Do you think the Americans can ever be educated about Japan, the Japan style?
I think they can. I think they have to just keep getting OD on it, kind of, just keep getting to see it. And I think it's an easy style. It's not a hard style to accept, I guess it depends on what clientele you get going to the matches. You get people who just want to bring kids, and they really don't even know who's who. The parents are just appeasing their children, And the kids go out, and they really, I don't think, are interested in seeing technical wrestling as much as all the glitz. Little kids want to just see, oh, that's the guy I saw on TV. They're not mature enough to understand good wrestling. Good suplexes. So it might be hard to get their attention for a while, but I think there's enough fans that are diehard fans that want to see good wrestling, and I think that are tired of just the same old stuff that's been going on. The short matches and the same old routine. It's everyone's seen too much of it, and I think this is a new style that it's long overdue to be shown in the United States, but it's one that it's trying to grow right now. It needs sun and water and nurturing, and if the crowd doesn't, if they quaff it before it gets a chance, then it may never ever happen, because you get a guy like Liger who's so used to getting awesome responses, as soon as he hits the ring and does one thing, he's used to getting a reaction, and you might not be as patient as some of us who you might get in there for 5 or 6 minutes and just find, geez, they're not getting any reaction. And before you get a chance to hook the crowd, because you got to build on it and get their attention, and they could be fucking around, not responding to any of your moves and all that. And if they don't, then someone like Liger might just get discouraged and say, and just when he's building up, and before he gets a chance to really captivate him, he just says, they're not getting into it. And then just, it could be a breaking point in the match where it could either go really good and get the crowd, or just at that point you just get discouraged and say, geez, I'm giving them all this stuff, they're not reacting. And then you just go back to a basic hold and just kind of stink the place out, kind of, and they say, oh, geez, that Liger is no good, So,
Are you enjoying the episode? Well, Cash App us. That's right, $BTSTS. You don't have Cash App? Download it and get $5. That's right, $5. That's $BTSTS. $BTSTS. Hey, just a quick reminder, subscribe for $5, $7, or $10 at www.patreon.com/Shooting the Shiznit without a G. That's right, Shooting the Shiznit without a G. Hey, use our Uber Eats code, Eats-Brian T 24790UE. That's Eat-Brian T 24790UE. Use that code and get $20 off a $25 order. Hey, I just want to take a moment to tell you about Athletic Brewing Company. This might sound strange to some people, but ABC makes non-alcoholic brews. That's right. I like to taste the beer with my food, but not the alcohol. If you go to tiny.1/STSPod2022, that's tiny.1/STSPod2022, and try a 6-pack, use that link. If you buy a 6-pack, you get one for free. Athletic Brewing Company. American Hostile Championship Wrestling returns to Malden, Missouri, February 12th to the Malden Community Center. That's 607 North Douglas Street in Malden, Missouri. Be there February 12th, Malden, Missouri. For advance tickets, call 636-232-3313. That's 636-232-3313.
Shootin' the Shiznit is exclusively sponsored this month by SpunkLube.com. SpunkLube is an award-winning personal lubricant that's fun. SpunkLube is available in 4 varieties: hybrid, pure silicone, natural, and pink. The newest addition to the SpunkLube family is SpunkLube Pink. The pink formula is colorful and fun to use. It's a special hybrid formula that's non-sticky and non-staining. All of their products are shipped in discreet packaging from D Enterprises. Please go to spunklube.com and order a unique, fun-to-use personal lubricant.
Jackson, Tennessee, Memphis Wrestling is back! And you can watch it every Saturday night at 11 p.m. on CBS starting March 5th. This ain't your grandpa's Memphis Wrestling.
What is Cassette Wrestling News' Jeff Osborne doing now? Please visit Secret Headquarters in Evansville, Indiana, 4225 North First Ave, Evansville, Indiana, or call Jeff at 812-470-8546. From vintage toys, video games, and comics to a full retro 80s video arcade. They also have the Vinyl Destination, new and used vinyl records. Drop on in and get something to spin. Follow them on Facebook at The Secret Headquarters.
But in my opinion, I don't, as much as I like to please the crowd, I'm not going to change the style of the match, It's kind of like it's their tough luck. I'll try to go out and give them a good, solid match, but if they just want to say boring or, geez, this is not very good, I want to see blood and guts and all that, I'm not going to go out and do that just to appease them, because then I'm just compromising my style, and that's the good thing about having that New Japan style is it's a unique style, and you just kind of got to dictate to them what you want to do, and if they don't want to accept it, then they're not really worth converting your style for, Do
you think maybe with the cycles that wrestling's going through and with all the glitz and glamour you mentioned, do you think eventually it's going to get back to the more quality wrestling as opposed to the show?
I really don't know right now. Wrestling's at a touchy state. I hear so many rumors about WCW is really sinking, and I think it's been revived a little bit with Ric Flair going to Titan Sports. From what I've spoken to the people in the States here now, it's kind of given them a new life, and they're talking about all the options if Ric Flair could work with the Steamboat or Bret the Hitman Hart, or even he did great matches with Kerry Von Erich years ago. They sold out Texas Stadium. there's different combinations for Flair, and of course the obvious one, Flair and Hogan, which is one that's just significant because it's one that everyone's compared. The two champions, battling, and so it could be an interesting match, and it might kind of rejuvenate wrestling a little bit. But I personally miss the days of the old, where you had maybe 20 promotions. You could go to Portland or Dallas or Kansas City, or Canada was thriving, and all a wrestler had to do was a phone call away, just I'll call Stu Hart in Canada and get booked, and you always had steady work, but now it's become a drought, and I'm grateful that I can go internationally and be one of the few independents that can work all year round and not feel the crunch, But I do pity some of these guys. There's some guys at the show last night that they get in these training camps, they get trained, and then they don't have it's like going to school and getting an education, and then all of a sudden you can't get any work anyway, and you got this training that you've spent a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of dreams about, and then it's really discouraging because you can't, you're just stuck not doing anything, And so I pity them because there's not a lot of work. You can't just call up Stu Hart in Calgary or Don Owens in Portland or whoever, Von Erich in Texas or whoever the promoters were then, and get work. It's not like that anymore. So these guys end up being jobbers on TV and just actually demoralizing themselves worse. And it almost seems to work against them, Then they're hanging around looking for whatever scraps, whatever work they can get, So I wish that there was a few more promotions that were starter-up promotions, say, that could give these guys a chance to develop and become better, and then finally get a big break,
Is there ever a chance that you will team up with Brett? Everybody knows you've been as the Blue Blazer in the WWF. You talked about restrictions with a mask. What type of restrictions were put on you in the WWF? And again, if we ever team up with Brett?
Well, for me, I'd love to tag up with Brett. He's one of the most highly respected wrestlers. I think, he carries himself well in and outside the ring. He's from the fans' point of view, they say, "Geez, your brother Brett's really great. And he had the best match at SummerSlam." Or he's always. You very rarely do you hear him having a stinker match. So for me, it'd be ideal to tag up with him. Outside the ring too, Brett carries himself. He's respected around the fans, and you never have to worry about hearing some stories. Your brother Brett was drunk and he smashed the window out or beat some guy up. He carries himself well in and outside the ring. So for me, I'd love to tag up with him and do like to do some business. But right now, with him being a singles champion, I think that's something that he's longed to have. He's had tag titles, but this is something I think he's really wanted. It really shows that only Brett and nobody else is the champion, and he's earned that. So I wouldn't want to step in the way of that. But I don't know what I had heard some rumors about my other brother-in-law, Jim Neidhart. Brett had asked me about tagging up with him and doing a new Hart Foundation, but that's nothing concrete. It's just it was just a thought of Brett's, and Jim had considered it and all that. But that again is something that I'd have to really think about. In some ways it's better. I get to be myself, Owen Hart, which is something I'd like to do. And Jim is somewhat already established as Jim Neidhart, so I could go in there right away. We could, within a few TV tapings, it's that's the new Hart Foundation. I think they would understand us, quick enough and not say, "Gee, I can't remember what are those guys' names." They would see Jim right away, and then it's Brett's brother or something. But there is a drawback in being, that's Brett's little brother. Geez, he's not as good or something. That he's not. I like the original team better. That's what people say, because I've seen imposter teams where they have they used to have Davey Boy and Dynamite with the Bulldogs, and then I think Dynamite took some time off, and Johnny Smith, who's a fine wrestler and all that, and was probably in better health at that time than Dynamite. His back was healthier and stuff. He was a big guy who could work pretty well, but people just say, "Oh, no, it's not the original Bulldogs. It's another guy. It's Davey Boy and some other guy," you know. And that does happen, and I don't want to be. I think I could stand alone without having to be compared, you know, or being told that somebody else's team is better or something. So, ideally, I'd like to just go in his own heart and just go from there and see if I can stand on my own. But I don't think there's always got to be a hook. You got to have something. You can't just go as an own heart. You need, some kind of gimmick that is eye-catching, you know. And this point in time, there's nothing. It's hard to think of anything that's original anymore. Whether it's blowing fire out like a dragon, or coming in with makeup all over your face, or having there's just so many, you know, different things that guys have for ring entrances and all that. It's like, man, what can you do to outdo this? You know, there's too much stuff. So I might have to rely on tagging out with Jim and get my foot in the door that way and get established.
Any closing comments to everybody?
Well, I guess I don't really know what to say, just other than whatever support they have. You know, I always appreciate. Last night I ran into a lot of people who had positive input about the match and the tapes that they've seen from New Japan Wrestling, and so a lot of people would say, you probably don't want to hear this or something, but I watch the New Japan tapes all the time and all that, and I'd say no, I always appreciate hearing any input because it builds just more information for me, and it's good to know that when you're out busting your back doing all these things in Japan, that somebody is watching it and appreciating it, you know.
Thanks a lot, Owen.
Okay, guys.
Hi, this is Medusa. Eddie and I are not here to receive your call. Just leave your name, number, and message, and one of us will get back to you as soon as we can. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Hello. I'm actually home for a couple of days, but if this is Saturday or Sunday, I probably won't be answering the phone because it's a special occasion. What, you ask? Well, leave your name and number at the tone, and when I call you back, I'll let you know. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Cornette, this is Jeff. I want the tapes. I want the tapes.
Memphis Wrestling's all-new lineup features the biggest stars in pro wrestling, powered by Pro Shingle, a professional roofing company. Sunday, February 13th, get ready for our anniversary Super Bout, featuring Ring of Honor World Champion Jonathan Gresham going one-on-one against NWA's national treasure Nick Aldis. Plus, WWE Hall of Famer and Knockouts champion Mickie James. March 6th, two-time WWE Hall of Famer and five-time World Champion Booker T is coming to Memphis Wrestling. And March 27th, Memphis Wrestling goes too cool with WWE superstar Scotty 2 Hotty. All tickets are on sale now. Get yours before it's too late at ChampionshipWrestlingMemphis.com.
American Hostile Championship Wrestling returns to Malden, Missouri, February 12th to the Malden Community Center. That's 607 North Douglas Street in Malden, Missouri. Tickets are available ringside $10. General admission tickets are $8. Kids 5 and under are free. You get $1 off advance tickets. The show features Austin the Reaper Bolo, The Posse, Big Jack Parker Jr., Mid-America champion Mark Southern Jr., Rude, Jason Bond, Derek, The King, Denzel Rollins, Big Mac, and many more. Card is subject to change. Be there February 12th, Malden, Missouri. For advance tickets, call 636-232-3313. That's 636-232-3313. This episode is also brought to you by SpunkLoop.com. Remember, when you're getting funky like a monkey, if you know what I mean, use Spunky. That's right. Go to www.spunklube.com and tell them STS Pod sent you. You want the best, you got the best. The best little wrestling podcast in the business. All episodes on www.stspod.club. Did you enjoy that episode? Cash App us at $BTSTS. If you've never downloaded the Cash App, download it today. You'll get a free, that's right, a free $5 for using the code $BTSTS. That's $BTSTS. Hey, that was another great episode of Shooting the Shiznit. Thank you for listening, and thank you to all our sponsors. A big shout out to Bob McGee at Pro Wrestling's Between the Sheets. Remember, you can reach us on Twitter at ComicBookMarkBT, Instagram at BT Shooting the Shiznit. That's right, Shooting the Shiznit without a G. Facebook Shooting the Shiznit, and Facebook Cool Kids Wrestling and MMA Talk. If we don't like you in that group, first you have to ask to get in. If we don't like you, we'll kick you out. All the episodes are at one place, and that's www.stspod.club. Podcast Roll Call. Who's Right Podcast. Homeboys Podcast. E3 Radio, my buddies Richard and Josh. My World with Conrad Thompson and my friend Jeff Durr. Lance's favorite include Nickology, Rock Solid, Playlist Wars, I'm Bad Podcast. Hey guys, remember, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars.